everyone, and welcome to another edition of the C1 Racing Club's virtual newsletter. Instead of a really boring email that goes into your inbox and you read about half of it and Robin gets really annoyed, it turns out our first one was a big success. Lots of you C1 racers really like this format, so we've gone with it and we've changed it up slightly. Robin's come to my house and I've got Nick and a pregnant lady at an undisclosed location at the top of the country. Nick and Katie
in a building site.
In a building site somewhere. Nick and Katie Ramsay-Gough join us for this one as well. And the official C1 racing season, the Silverlake C1 racing season, has finished bar ROR, which we could kind of count.
Yeah. We support that event so much.
So we could count that as part of the season. And as you can see behind me, the last round of the year has passed, and it was canoe racing, not C1 racing. It was so wet towards the end of it. And I wasn't even there, so I'll just leave it up to you three to talk about how Donington went. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, I had an absolutely great time. And yes, we got a bit wet. But as far as the race goes, I think it was absolute success. Considering the last time we had rain at Donington was safety car central. And yeah, I mean, we had to red flag the thing because it was so bad. This time, everyone kept going. Yes, there was some rollovers. Was it 4 in total? 3? No, it's just a little fell on its side. Yeah, it was just typical in the gravel. But as a whole, it went really well, and we had a Gen 2 on the podium. Nick and Phil.
That was
on the pro podium. I should add, because we had 2 podiums, and you weren't there to shout really loudly at who.
I know, but the good thing is, Nick has got some great facts about how the pro and AM podiums kind of played out and how the whole race played out towards the end. I mean, Nick, some of the stats and the feedback from the pro and AM system has been very, very positive, isn't it?
Yeah, fantastic feedback. I think we had the standard podium, the pro podium as it is now. They were obviously bumper to bumper across the line, first and second. With third place, I think 20 seconds behind them.
Yeah. And after 3 hours, that first and second race for the win was just really good.
And then I think we had 6 on the lead lap as well. Yeah. So, I mean, we've got to put that really probably down to the pit strategy changes, I think.
Yeah, 100%. It did what we wanted it to do, which was brought them all closer together because they had less chance to strategize their advantage. And it did win. It did work perfectly.
Yeah, you literally couldn't have asked for it to have worked any better than it did.
I wonder if we should explain that to people that maybe weren't at Donington, because obviously everyone wasn't there, so maybe... but it was the whole thing of now, you got your 3 pit stops, but you have to stop once every racing hour. And that was brilliant, because you could see everyone there trying to work out what to do. And
it kind of changes the strategy once again. People have to sort of ditch the original black book and sort of make a new one up on when they make their pit stops. And I think with Donington, the conditions probably played into it a bit as well.
Yeah,
maybe play around with the drivers, get the better experienced drivers in with the more wet and inclement conditions.
The whole race was just wet and inclement.
I was going to say that, but I think with the feedback certainly I've got, I don't know about yourself, Nick and Katie, Robin, I think the feedback with the class structure as well that I've had from drivers is the fact that they're actually looking for the sun strips. They're looking for the little badges. They're looking, right, who am I fighting? Okay, I don't have to bicker with this car because that's an AM car and I'm a pro car. Okay, I don't have to bicker with this car, etc., etc. And I think ultimately, dare I say it, that will help improve driving standards, which are already fairly high for the C1 Racing Club anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like with driving standards. I'm still the same as I've always been. I won't tolerate it. And any contact and unnecessary banging, I just won't have it. We've got a really good grid of really clean, beautiful prepared cars. And after that wet race, they were still mostly the same, other than the odd roly-poly one. But yeah, the car structure was great. And what was really nice, the AM podium was some new faces. We had Gala Performance. They were there on the top step. God, you ever seen ecstatic people? Yeah, I mean, Jack Watts is obviously there as well, but
but they were top 2 and were 4 seconds apart, with third place, I think.
we had
the same lap. I think they were 40 seconds behind.
Red Sky and who else did we have on the AM podium?
We had Gala with BPC on top step. We had, oh no, who was second place? I was just looking at it. Yeah, obviously Red Sky were third.
Yeah.
No.
Trying to remember who's. It'll come. But I mean, for Red Sky Racing, we predicted that, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of, it wasn't for that, but it was kind of these teams that, they're a family team. They got, who knows?
Yeah, MDA.
It was.
There we go.
But, Red Sky, that was the classic thing of why we've done this, because you got 4 drivers in the car. So now, with the stopping every racing hour, they can work a strategy that actually, they can all get a relatively fair share of the car, although they've now realised that one driver really is going to have to do a short stint. But they're happy with that because they'll kind of draw straws and do whatever they're going to do. But it still helps the multi-driver cars. It helps them massively. And that ultimately helps cost. If you've got a group of mates, you can now have 3 mates come along and have a third share in the car, and they know they're not going to be at a disadvantage to anyone else strategically, which has always been a big thing in C1.
Yeah. I think it was. Yeah, I wouldn't say baptism by fire. I'd say baptism by water. We had five safety cars, I think, throughout the race, and like I said, nothing major. It was people stuck in gravel who had just gone slightly wide.
There was a few just parked up,
and so that really played havoc with the strategy. And I think I sensed a bit of frustration actually from Red Sky because they probably felt like on another day they could have won it, but it plays into 2, 3, and 4 driver teams. Any of them can win. It's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out in a dry race next year.
Yeah, so you mix that with the new kind of class structure, it just opens things up massively from having multiple drivers and then being new. You've got some pots to chase.
Yeah, and it does make a difference, doesn't it? And I think that's, everyone puts in the same amount of effort. And it's just some people can't justify the amount of time it takes to test to be as competitive as the guys at the very front are. Yes, okay, some people don't, like David from WRC and Trojan, those guys, but they've been doing, David's been racing his entire life, and Trojan...
And he's raced around the world.
And all the guys from Trojan, every single driver, whether it be the kids' team or the dads, they've won championships, and several of them. They're all karting champions, some of them at a very high European level. The driving standard is exceptional. So for club racers to think they can achieve that, sometimes a little bit out of reach. But for them to go, you know what, we can actually be a really, quickest of the clubbies,
I still think it's a great thing to be going for. It's certainly
and the times aren't even far off. You look at the AM cars, lap time wise, they're not that far off the price.
They're not far off at all, and you look at the overall results. So the AM, it kind of worked out the way I wanted it to when I was writing up the sort of emphasis of it.
Because it was all Rob's idea. So.
It was actually, technically, it was myself and Katie.
Okay.
We sat and wrote this. I'm not kidding you. At the SNET round, we sat and wrote this in the garages at Snetterton.
I know you've been banging the drum for it.
Yeah. Nick's been banging in the drum, bless him. But myself and Katie sat there, and I probably racked my brain over TSL trying to perfect this as much as you can. So the feedback, both positive, positive, negative. If you got anything, pick holes in it, people, because we want to make it better for you. But the fact that the top 3 overall were the top 3 pros, we expected that generally to happen. So the top 3 AMs overall were actually Gala in 8th, MDA in 10th, and Red Sky Racing 11th. That's kind of the level where you want to be. And you had about 4 or 5 pros actually hit problems and finish a lot further down. So even though you're in an AM car, you can still achieve top 10 results and get to the cusp of that AM podium. And I caught up with Jack Watts at Silverstone recently for the finale day there. He was with his team in other Formula, and he said the Gala boys were absolutely ecstatic.
Oh, they're over the moon.
And I'm hoping that, again, if you are watching, you've got an AM car, you haven't raced for a few years, and you know what, I want to have a go again next year. Get yourself out there because there's more trophies to go for. There's a logical step now, a logical stepping stone now in the Silverlake C1 series to go with. But for me, watching back, that was a very, very fitting finale.
Yeah, it was good. It was good fun to work actually as well. Even though we got a bit wet, it was.
Yeah, it made it worth it. So, hearing the chatter up and down the garages of where they were in class, So there's teams that previously would have gone, well, I'm not even top 10, and that kind of move it down, trodden 2/3 of the way, and we're going, I'm P6 in class, I'm chasing P5, and it just made that different dynamic, and it was great to be around.
I think you could be like 15th, 16th overall, and you're still trying to fight for maybe a third in AM class.
Brilliant. So for next year, so we're looking ahead, always looking ahead into 2026. So that's the Pro and Am class is staying.
Yeah, for sure.
And the pit stops and the system that was trialled at Donington, is that staying as well?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I just can't see any reason why we wouldn't. It's a little bit more work for TSL, but the computer system sorts it out. And for us, there's a little bit more thinking for us, because there's the odd scenario where someone might, for a safety car, not get to pit within their hour window. So when safety car comes in, they have to pit the very first racing lap of the following hour. But, everyone took that on. I think Kate will agree. All the questions we got asked were all pretty logical, and we all had the answers, and everyone behaved very, very well in that respect. So, I think there's no reason why we won't do it.
Now, before we move on to any 2026 calendar news, we need to look back on the year in 2025. And in the past couple of rounds, those that have been watching on other races who perhaps didn't make it to the circuit would have seen there's been a few technical infringements, and there's just a few things to cover off, some of which are genuine. They didn't know what they were doing. So we've actually got engine parts here for the camera. So there's the camera up there, Robin. Right. This is the tech talk now.
So this, there you go, you can see it there. That's an early Gen 1 early piston. And then this one is a late Gen 1 piston. So the late one's got the extra bowl in the middle and two little dots here. The part numbers are on the sides of them. The late one, let me see if I can do that. You might not be able to see it. Just there. Anyway, it's just up here. But basically, I'm going to put these two part numbers in the rules for next year, because you're not allowed to do anything with these engines, so you're only allowed an early piston or a late piston. Externally identifiable as green injector engine or grey injector engine. That's the only real external differences in the engines. We had a non-compliance at Silverstone with Colin Cat TT.
Right.
Greg, I believe the guy's name is, from Scholar Race Engines, has always done his engines forever. Does a great job, and unfortunately, I've got a tool that we made up that goes down through the plug hole, locates into the spark plug, and piston comes up and it measures that distance. Now, it doesn't matter what that distance is; it's not got a manufacturer number. The tool I've got is just a yardstick. It's based on a late engine, and if it's late and it's standard, when the piston comes up, the little thing will read 0. Colin's engine read plus 0.88. And it's quite an important number, because when we did the technical check, it was exactly 0.88 difference. Now, it failed the test. It should only be 0 or less. They were brilliant about it. They got an engine from Jack Watts, put it in, raced. They went faster in the race with a used road engine than they did with their built engine, good. Like everyone does. So again, it goes to show you don't need rebuilt engines. Colin wanted to do it from a reliability standpoint, and his car's beautiful. The preparation is just outstanding. Yeah, they're beautiful. Always. So I get why he does it, but you don't need to for pace. Anyway, Greg from Scholar Race Engines took his time out of his day to come down to C1 headquarters at my workshop at Raw Motorsport, because I build race engines and other things in my own work. And it was great. We tore the engine apart and found the difference, and there was a different piston in the engine, a third piston that does fit the engine. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go into what that piston was or what it's from or its part number or anything like that, because you can't use it, so it doesn't matter. But Greg's reason for it being in there was that the very last of the Gen 1 engines had these pistons. I have to take his word on it. We don't know otherwise, and didn't have anything in the rules to say what piston you had to have. Now, irrelevant if it did or it didn't, I've spoken to several other engine builders, and from every engine I've torn down, 421 in the gravel. I don't see that often. So anyway, basically, no one else has seen this third piston in a Gen 1 engine. It's not to say it's not in there. Citroen might have just got the last batch and gone, right, we'll throw these in there. But for next year, it's just going to be a simple rule. You're allowed piston ending 70 or piston ending 21. And there's going to be a visual reference in the regs for them as well. It's nothing, Colin from GAT TT it wasn't an intentional thing. It made no mile an hour difference. They weren't the fastest. They weren't the fastest lap time. And when they put the other engine in, the used engine, they were actually faster. So it wasn't an intentional thing, and it didn't give them an advantage, but it's the first time I've seen the tool go into a positive number. So it was a non-compliance. So yeah, it's more a case of, Colin from Cat DT, and Cat DT is a business. There's no issue. But it did happen. Colin was amazing with it. We stripped the engine. It was all confirmed, and everything else in the engine was great. It was all standard as suspected.
100%. I mean, what it's probably done inadvertently is actually almost find a loophole and then help eradicate that loophole.
Yeah, not even sure. Loophole kind of sounds like an intentional thing. It's more a case of
an accidental loophole.
Yeah, and that's it. Whatever it was, I specifically haven't put too much information in the rules about engine dimensions, because we don't need people building engines. Standard. So I've got lots of good checks that can tell, and we've had really good compliance checks, and most people passed. Where everyone else has passed, we've got really good results. So this is just a case of the engines are getting a little bit long in the tooth. A lot of people are rebuilding, so it'd be nice for someone to pop the piston out and go, I've got 70s, cool. I'm allowed to run them and put them back in.
No problem.
Simple as that.
We've not had any cases of any engines that have been not built, any standard engines, unopened engines that have had this piston, is there?
No, I haven't. I've never seen it in anything else.
Is there not a way that people can check their engines without cracking them open? Or
I've said anyone can come down to see one, and we're in Southampton, but they can come down. I can do all the eligibility checks on the engine pre-season if they want me to. You can look with a bore scope, because they're quite identifiable. The piston that was in there had really, really different exhaust valve cutouts. It didn't have much exhaust valve cutout at all, and it had a higher centre by 0.88. So when we actually took all three pistons out, from my late piston to the piston that was in there, it was exactly 0.88 taller than a late Gen 1 engine. So that goes to show that my tool was pretty accurate at the side of the circuit as well. So I was happy with that. I had a little Clarkson smug face, but not the great. That's an issue, but I was very much like, good. But yeah, you can check, and I'm happy to help people check for compliance. But I mean, through the year, most of the engines we checked were actually the early engines. I'd say 90% of the wins we've had have been with the lower compression, let's call it early engine. So it goes to show you don't have to have a late engine and all this sort of stuff. And it's a 3-hour endurance or 24-hour endurance, so there's a lot more to it than less than half a point in compression difference.
Okay, so that clears up the Cat DT.
Yeah.
Anything else technical found throughout the year?
Pretty much clean sweep, other than Donington, actually, last round Donington.
Okay.
A silly thing, and I think it was a team error from previous testing, but one of the Emax cars was found to have the wrong brake pads in it.
Okay.
Definitely not advantageous, because it was a standard road pad, from which I can make out. So yeah, that was Glenn. He was just like, what can I say? It's one of those. So yeah, we've got rules, and you got to run specific brake pads, and the few things that we check have to be right, and we do check random things.
And it's the two different types of Mintex brake pad, isn't it?
Yes, you got the 1144, which is sprint essentially. That we don't recommend that for any longer than a 6-hour race, and then the F4R, which will actually do you 2 24-hour races. They just don't really wear out.
Do 2 seasons.
Yeah, you'll go through 4 sets of discs in 1 set of pads. So I always say to everyone, that's the cost-effective pad to get. Invest in the better pad, and you won't go wrong. But yeah, other than that, everything's been great, and I thank you to all the competitors, because everyone's been really good. And every time we've suggested a check, everyone's been really cool. No one's had an issue at all. In fact, Colin at Donington got me to check his other car, and he's going to use ROR to make sure that a fresh engine was compliant. Richard at Rab Sport wanted me to check one of his. He's been really good every time he wants to check it. His guys are military guys, and God, you say you want to do an engine check, and they're ready to pull the crank out.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm not stupid. I've been racing most of my life. We look at TSL, me and Rob, analyse TSL and go through, and you look at the speed traps and the data and the lap times, and there's so much you can learn from TSL. They're so close. It would be, if someone was doing something silly, it would just stand out way too much. Even you look at, the Trojan 41 car, it's never the fastest on the speed traps. It's never, it's just it's peaks and troughs as to his far. You look at Oscar from Bacon. He was absolutely on a mission at Donington. Got fast. Got fastest speed traps, and a lot of it didn't ultimately get fastest lap. But
driven with passion.
Driven with passion. But yeah, really, really good season. So I'm very happy. From a client compliance point, we're good. Regs point, the only thing that's going to change for next year is some wording clarification on what pistons you're allowed, and the pit stop rules. Other than that, there's going to be no technical changes, so everyone can take your cars to the body shop, make them look pretty, and bring them back out next year if there's any little.
And don't forget, if you do need any new parts for your cars, we've got to mention, of course, series sponsors Silverlake. So any panels, any parts of a C1, Gen 1 and Gen 2, they're also busy developing.
And more and more Gen 2s are actually coming in the yard now. They weren't seeing many at first, but I had a little chat with Greg earlier today. And they're starting to filter through. And if you don't know who to contact through Silverlake, feel free to get in touch with me with what you need. And then I can make sure you go through to the right channels. And get the correct parts you need.
Yeah, certainly Greg and the team down at Silverlake will be ready to assist you with your parts inquiries. Like we say, whether it's down to a gearbox, an engine, any body panels you want, please make sure you hit up Silverlake, who very kindly keep sponsoring the series.
Don't actually just go for your C1 parts, to be fair, if you want anything for anything.
Basically. And thank you once again for supporting the C1 Racing Club for another year. Long may that continue into 2026. Now, talking about 2026, calendar. Right.
Finally got the dates pinned down. We have had a lot of issues, and I appreciate everyone's patience. There's a few of you, you know who you are, have been texting me pretty relentlessly on dates. I understand. I get it. People want to plan holidays and stuff, but between ourselves and BRCC mainly, they've had some issues. We got a provisional calendar set actually just before Donington, and we were hoping to release just after Donington, but Silverstone were going to pull one of their dates that BRCC had. Wasn't our weekend, but pulling that date put all of the calendar planning out, because calendar planning for Paul McCurlin is just a nightmare. It is a spreadsheet upon spreadsheet upon spreadsheet upon. Just honestly, it's a mess. Even if you just see it, you'll get anxiety. Anyway, long story short, Silverstone is sorted, BRC is sorted. The calendar can remain what we originally told, which is great. So this is going to be out maybe end of this week, Friday, I think, roughly. We're going to get this newsletter out, and then we hope to release the calendar, Nick, Monday?
I think we'll aim for Monday. Maybe something
Please
exciting.
don't text me before Monday if you get this newsletter Friday. You'll all find out at the same time on Monday. So it'll be a newsletter that will come out probably normal thing. First thing Monday morning, everyone will have it.
100%. I won't throw any gags in there, like trying to explain that there's potentially 2 24-hour races in there somewhere, or a trip to the Far East or anything like that. So just wait for Monday, guys, honestly. Yeah. But 2025 in general, we've spoken about next year, 2025 in general. Nick and Katie, you have been traipsing up and down the pit lane. Katie, your walk has been getting slower, we've noticed. How has 2025 been in terms of the health of the series and of the camaraderie amongst the drivers? It's been a good year, hasn't it?
It has. The paddock, I just love being around it, even when I was getting slower and waddling up and down, particularly at Donington. Every garage you go into, everyone's absolutely lovely and fantastic, either with myself, with other teams, with marshals, everyone. And I will give a shout out that the last 2 weekends I worked, everyone got to assembly on time, everyone nominated drivers on time, did threaten pregnancy hormones, and they all did everything as they should do. So now I'm like, guys, there's no excuse for next year. You can do everything on time now. Don't need to chase you, because now you can do it. So let's continue it on. But no, it's been fantastic this year. Definitely.
You can tell you've only done one first round of the year, because first round of the year next year, it'll be like a race you won before. They'll forget what they're doing in the pit stops. They won't nominate drivers. Half of them won't even turn up. It'll be chaos. But I agree. I mean, what a friendly paddock. That's what I love about it as well. We're there working, and it's great fun.
I think for me, there's 3 words that make up the name of us, and the last one is the important one. We are a club, and we have that community of a club, which a lot of other race series and championship that I've been around certainly don't have. It's such a great community. You can see mechanics from any team helping any other team, whether they've raced with them before or they're new to the thing. And I think that's really important to emphasise. We've got a brilliant community. And like I say, you mentioned about there's a couple of rule errors, let's call them. There's no doubt in my mind that they were anything other than accidental. We just don't have the characters in our series of people that want to bend the rules. So,
everyone wants a fair race. So
we're there for the same reason, and it's a brilliant community to be a part of. So hopefully
that's a really good way of saying it, because I mean, I used, when I was my current business, but another, Raw Motorsport, my day-to-day job, running building race cars and things. I used to run as a race team, and I used to have cars I rented out and arrive and drive and all that sort of stuff. And one of the series I finally ran in, I actually ended up leaving and basically quitting motorsport because it got so poisonous in the paddock that my mental health was just crazy. I got to the end of the final year, and I just said to all my customers, I'm sorry, but I'm done with this. I don't want any part of being at a race circuit. And I that was up until C1 Club came around. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a go. And it brought all the love back for it. Suddenly a group of friends, when we originally did it at Sailor V, it was the spirit of it was just fantastic. And what Philip and Carol, the original crew, created was just something quite special. And I love that all the new customers coming in and, the long-term teams are just embracing that friendly paddock environment.
Now, to emphasise on that, and before we move on to our final segment of this newsletter, which is, of course, ROR coming up, I think a big part of that community really came to the fore because of yourself, Robin. Now, many of you will know Team SCR, and you would have seen Mr. Chip Howland in his wheelchair at Donington. Just our personal thanks from the C1 Racing Club for the camaraderie, everyone getting together, particularly the GoFundMe was setting up, and the response to that was phenomenal, and the help and support that Team SCR got. They have been in the series for a while now. Chip certainly and Rebecca have been in the series for a while now through Sandown Motorsport and now as SCR. And the help and response that they got after Chip had an unfortunate accident at the 2CV 24 Hours was nothing short of phenomenal. So thank you everyone for your response to that. That was brilliant.
It was quite an amazing response, really. And Chip's one of those characters as well. If a car comes down the paddock with the engine hanging out of it, he's off. But where you go? And he's like, I'm going to go and fix that. He can't leave stuff alone, and that's why he hurt himself. He was helping David from WRC. They came in with a car that had backed into the wall, bit of damage. Chip's in there, and he's just doing his best to get the car back out there. Not for himself, for them. Broke his leg in 2 places doing it.
And it wasn't the most pleasant of breaks either. There's a lot of complications, unfortunately, that have followed for him. So, Chip, if you're watching this as well, best of luck, mate. But come on, mate, it's just a broken leg. Get back to work.
Yeah.
Right, so finally we end. It's not an official C1 event as such, but it's greatly supported by the C1 club. Silverlake will have a team there as well. I think we've got 9 C1s in the C1 class out for it, potentially more coming.
Yeah, I think it's potentially more now, actually. Yeah.
Race of Remembrance at Anglesey on the Memorial Weekend, around the 11th of November, of course. Well,
it's the 8th, 9th weekend, I think.
8th, 9th weekend, but it's always the weekend closest to Remembrance Sunday. And, of course, if you want to be there in the C1 class for the Race of Remembrance, we've got some arrive and drive teams going, haven't we?
Yes, there is. I know David from WRC Developments is still got some seats in one of his cars. Algadogo were advertising the other day on the C1 Facebook page. Email me is the easiest way. If you want to get involved with ROR, email me because there's plenty of seats available.
There's plenty of seats available, or if you just want to come up for actually a very good and unique weekend to be a part of,
that's a hell of a thing to experience
on the Spanners. And I did hear actually while I was at Silverstone, Chris Harris is going to be there of Top Gear fame. He is going to be racing at the event, and I'm told Mission Motorsport have got a few more celebrities on the way. So. Let's see. And there's some gimp with a microphone there as well. I'll be there on the commentary alongside Scott Woodwiss, possibly Kieran Mogg and Paul Trustwell. So
I'm doing some driving as well.
You'll be doing some driving. What are you out in?
I'm in the Silverlake Gen 2.
Doing a bit more work on
that. That's I suppose that
actually, I've completely missed that point. So our last thing is actually going to be looking to the future. Gen 2, what's the update?
We've had some issues with them through the year. People have probably noticed them coming in infrequently, but sometimes limping 40 kilometres an hour around the track. in limp mode because we're having ECU errors. We originally tasked Sam Weller from Hybrid Tune to do a club file for us. But I kind of took 2 cars up there and gave him 1 day to hoping that he'd be some absolute magician to be able to get in there and delete some error codes for us and just make it perfect. Not possible, it turned out, with the timescale that he had with the cars. And the amount of time he needed with the cars and stuff, it wasn't really viable. Through location and stuff like that. He's up near Snetterton and we're in Southampton. What we have managed to do is get another tuner to do the work, and they've managed to turn the immobiliser off, that's an amazing thing, which I'll get onto in a minute. So immobiliser's off. We managed to turn the EGR valve off completely, so it can just now be unplugged and blanked. And the post-cat lambda sensor can be turned off as well, because the Gen 2 has got a very, very weird catalytic converter set up right near the cylinder head, and it was causing loads of heat, so they've had to have a decat pipe made, and they got to run the club tailpipe cap, so they were having lambda errors. This is all a bit technical for some people, apologies if you're not following, but we've managed to delete a couple of sensors and turn the immobiliser off. And the tests we've done so far, we've done about 12 hours of testing in it, and it's been completely faultless. No error codes, no limp mode, nothing at all. And they're exactly the same power now as a good Gen 1, which is exactly what we wanted. So what we are hoping to do, we're going to run that ECU on the Silverlake Gen 2 ROR. So another 12-hour test. If that's successful, that ECU is then going to go with Nick Beaumont from JW Bird. He's going to run it in his Gen 2 at Portimao 24-hour in December.
Okay.
So we'll have another 24-hour test. And then, as long as that's all good, going into next year, every Gen 2 on the grid will run the club file from this new tuner. But the beauty is I'll have a club ECU with no immobiliser. So I can just go up to any car at any point and swap the ECUs, and no tampering, because I'm going to swap the ECUs and send that ECU back to the tuner. It'll check the file for compliance. And that's something we're actually going to be doing a little bit on Gen 1s for next year. So to prepare everyone, don't vote at me. You might get to the end of a weekend and ask to hand over your ECU. Seal tag, non-seal, whatever. You're going to have to push the car onto the trailer, push it into the lorry, whatever. That's racing, I'm sorry. But we're going to be taking some ECUs every single round next year, sending them back to Hybrid Tune for them to do compliance checks on the ECU files.
Okay.
It's just another little thing we're going to add in. I know it's an inconvenient thing, but the reality is not many people do much work on the car the week after a race meeting, so it'll be hand the ECU over, we'll get it straight to Hybrid Tune, they'll get it back to you within 2 days, and you'll be back up and running.
Perfection. Mm-hmm. So I think, any other business, guys?
No, I think so.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, from my perspective, thank you to you guys and everyone else involved in C1 Club. It's sort of a family thing. Got my parents and Lynn and Chris. They're doing pit lane stuff all the time. Nick helps me hugely from the social media stuff, and any of that kind of content is all Nick doing his thing. Rob obviously does Rob things, which is very, very useful. Katie, is obviously my little angel at the circuit. I couldn't do the meetings without a very, very good coordinator. Obviously Charlotte's now in Australia doing...
Yeah, she's upside down now.
Fun Australian things. And she's doing really great, which is cool.
She is.
But Katie has stepped up very, very well. Although she's now going to be carrying a baby around with her, which is a bit inconvenient. But
no, it's good because no one can shout at me with a baby.
Yeah, you just point the baby. But yeah, do you think you'll be with us next year on that note?
Definitely, yeah. I can't imagine not coming back next year. Major FOMO, so that's how I'd feel if I wasn't back. No, I'm a baby in tow. I'll get some babysitters on board, but yeah, no, I'll be back.
Well, good luck with all of that lot anyway.
Superb. Well, until ROR, I think we'll have to send out another newsletter after ROR. Thank you very much, Nick and Katie. I did appreciate having those masks, the video sent to me. Apologies for not making Donington. I was too busy breaking my car at Brands Hatch. But thank you everyone from the C1 Racing Club. This has been your virtual newsletter for another episode. See you at ROR, and then we'll do one after that.
Yeah, that'll be it.
Fantastic. Bye everyone.
Cheers. Yeah.